What's up, y'all? Um, I have to finish off my series, the part Panic in a Pandemic, with Jrocks Open Book, continuing how the pandemic reshaped my life and what it's done for me, negative, positive. Started off as a school project, y'all, but I was like, I might as well tell y'all. Excuse my voice. I'm just a little hoarse, kind of drained from being in New York and the changes in the climate. It was real cold and ass hot down here. But I'm gonna leave it up. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, J Rock's open book is just me just being open with everybody and telling what's going on in my mind and things that help me out. It's good therapy, but it was a class present. It was a class project that's turning into something that's bigger. If it becomes something big, then good. If not, I'm gonna just keep it going, see how many I can do. But we're gonna continue where I left off. Panic in a pandemic. If you go look at part one is up, talking about how what happened to me in the pandemic, how the pandemic, what I was going through during the pandemic, the racism and everything. But now we're going to where I pick up where I left off, which was I thought I was gonna do 30 years in the United States Navy, but ended up doing 20 and why it got cut short. If you want to know what happened up until that point of what the pandemic was going through, I'm not going to recap it because y'all can go watch the video, and that's the whole purpose of this for you to go watch the video before this one that brought us to here, which was boom. I'm at 20 years. I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania at this time. Went through the racism part. Y'all can go find out all the stuff about that. Went through the, stuff with the military and why I left the military. Now, all the stuff that led up to this video right here from the last video, now I'm back in Erie, Pennsylvania, in the recruiting station. You know, things are starting to come back to normal back in town. Folks are starting to go outside. We're still separated. Folks are still wearing masks, but people are trying to get back to normal life, right? Still in a racist town, still dealing with the niggers, the boy, the you not from around here, still dealing with all that, still living in the same apartments and everything up in Erie, Pennsylvania, still going through the same forest, still going through Allegheny Forest, going through these little towns where it's only like 6 black people, literally. For me to Google and see that it's only like 6 black people here and stuff like that. Still going through all that, but here goes the thing. Whether I would have succeeded or whether I would have failed, I was a Navy recruiter. And in Navy recruiting and career recruiting for us, we don't take no as an answer. We don't just back down because, oh, it's getting hard out here. Oh, it's racism out here. We have been through all that. If y'all go look at the first video, you'll understand how we got to that part, how we went through the racist part and everything. And I know people don't like to believe that America is racist and y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all tired of talking about our past and all this kind of stuff. But guess what? It's out there. And I'm telling you firsthand as someone that is 41 going on 42 that it's out there, and I was completely shocked when I went there, okay? So it's out there. And they want to take us back to like slavery time. That's making America great again. Bow down, black people. And that's not me being like, oh, black power. That's me being a young man that just had went to this area where these people was calling me nigger, boy, and all this stuff in 2020, 2021. Okay? Now, now we're out there. We went through all that. I told y'all about that. Once again, go to the first part. It's up. The live is up. You can go on my playlist and look up J Rock's Open Book. Now, we get to the part where we're out here, we're still working. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with some young people and stuff. And y'all can even go on my Instagram, follow me, and see how I was with my delayed entry program. I'm down there with the kids and stuff, working them out, getting them in the United States Navy, even going through the racist part with their grandparents and their mothers and all this kind of stuff. And, I could deal with that. I'm not worried about that. Keeping my girl out of trouble. We getting her and, the one that had went to captain's mast before the captain and they tried to kick her out. We got her medical process going. Everything's going good. They got me signing everything, doing all kind of stuff, word for word of what my recruiters is doing, how they doing, all stuff. It was very stressful, okay? Very stressful. But at the same time, all this is going on. I started getting to the point where I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to go. Because the racist stress was kind of getting to me, right? So I called my grandmother, right? I called my grandmother one night. I talked to my grandmother about it, and she was like, maybe it's just time for you to go. Just because you don't have to do 30 years in the Navy, but what if you was to come home, be like a JROTC instructor and stuff like that, that's still contributing to the community? So my idea was, well, maybe it is time for me to retire and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because this is just becoming too much. This is becoming too much. But I wasn't really sure. So I set out on this plan, right? I set out on this plan to, let me make sure that y'all can see me though, y'all, because I be forgetting sometimes this damn thing. Let me make sure. All right, y'all can see me. All right. Now I had set out a plan with my grandmother. I said, you know what? My grandmother been renting her house all these years since I've been in sixth grade. I have a VA loan. Let me just go on. Me and Pearly Mae, that's my girl. Y'all know that's my girl. So welcome to live chat. I hope I can see y'all comes. If y'all come in and down here, I don't see it right now, but I will see it later and I will respond. But if I see it now, I will respond in real time. But I had me and my grandmother sat down on the phone. We created this plan, right? Of me to retire, go home, take a sabbatical, right? Like this 1 year sabbatical, get my retirement checks and my disability for a whole year. Don't have to do nothing. I ain't got to pay no rent or nothing because I'm going back home, go to my room, right? Me and my grandma chilling, cooking and stuff, eating slushies and smoothies overnight like we do, looking at, Netflix and Lifetime and stuff. That's my girl, right? So we had planned that and everything, but I was like, but I don't know. Let me see. And she was like, you don't have to make a decision now, but I do think that it's starting to get stressful. The military is starting to change. Things are starting to get, the new people that's coming in, the people at the top. You don't have to deal with that. You already did your time, right? So in this time, that was around June, July of 2021. Let's rewind because, like I said, this is Jrocks Open Book. At this time, I'm also going through a breakup because the pandemic was really hard on my relationship, right? So I was not allowed to go 50 miles outside the radius of Erie, Pennsylvania due to the rules of the military. 50 miles not outside of Erie, Pennsylvania, but 50 miles outside of my duty. My duty was from Buffalo all the way down to Pittsburgh, right? And then across to the Allegheny Forest and some parts of Ohio. So I couldn't go 50 miles outside of that because I had to be able to get back because I was an essential worker still, even though we was opening up and everything. But I was in a relationship, and if you know about Erie, Pennsylvania, in that area, if you come from a city like Dallas where everything is fast, even during the pandemic, they having kickbacks, parties, and everything. Everybody know Texas and Atlanta did not close for the pandemic, boo. They didn't close. I'm sorry, they just didn't close. If y'all looking at my eyes, baby, I'm tired. I just got through doing presentations and everything, and my allergies. But the pandemic, they didn't close, so I'm in a relationship and everything, and I felt like this. No shade. I was in my 30s. My boyfriend at the time was in his 20s and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I really don't want to just keep him all in here with, I'm at work all the time. I'm doing 12 hours a day. I'm doing everything. And he just in the fucking house in Erie, Pennsylvania, in a racist area. He can't do nothing. Ain't no clubs open. Ain't no like movies to go to. The movies was still shut down. Ain't no, like, there's nothing to do. So I was like, I basically was telling him, go to New York where your friends at, or go to, Cleveland was the closest thing to black that we had. You can go to Cleveland or Detroit and, and all this kind of stuff. Now we get to around by 2021, because, we moved there in 2020. He was leaving a lot. And so him leaving a lot, I found out that, hey, it is what it is. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. He found him another dude while he was with me. So it's kind of like, I wasn't mad at it. Shit, I didn't care. I wasn't mad. What am I getting mad for? I'm never at home. I'm never giving you like quality time to the point to you thinking, we in a pandemic, I'm working long hours. It wasn't like that in Dallas. In Dallas, you had your family. In Dallas, you can go kick back. In Dallas, you can have fun. And then when we get together, we can have our time. But we wasn't having no time. So you found somebody that could give you time. But you're not gonna stay here with me now that I found this out. So that relationship ended. So I didn't went through all the racist stuff, the stressors, all this stuff. Now my man and left me for another dude and all this kind of stuff and everything. And that was a big mess and all this kind of stuff. But be happy, come get your shit. Put him out and everything. June rolls around. Everything going good. I'm there by myself now. Now I'm here in Erie by myself, alone, right? And everything. And, just talk to my grandma all the time. My little brother was calling from jail and everything. He'll hit me up. Yeah, I've been going through this spiritual journey and I know you're going through some stuff because I can feel you and all this stuff. And he was practicing something where he can project his body. He can go into a spiritual realm, and he was saying he's studying how to project his body outside of the jail cell walls and be with the people he love. And he know that I'm going through some stuff with my master chiefs and my thing was, here go the crazy part. Y'all can believe it if you want. No, y'all cannot believe it. But how do you know what I'm going through here and you're incarcerated in Texas? Hey, he knew. So, believe it or not, I don't care what y'all believe or whatever. This is what this young man, this little boy be telling me when he was in prison. So, he had been practicing how to project his spirit to be with the people that he loved. Hey, that's what he was doing. Now, August come around. I'm still, I told y'all I had made this plan with my granny and everything, but we wasn't solid on it or nothing like that. I'm still working. Now things seem like they're starting to pick up because ain't nobody holding a torch to me when it comes down to motivating and all this stuff with new people in the military and their lives. The racist stuff, it is what it is. Bitch, don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with you. I'm sleeping with a 9 by my side in Erie, right? We're not even worried about that. Around August, I get a call from my little sister. My little sister tells me, hey, something wrong with grandma. I'm like, what's wrong with grandma? And then she's like, something wrong with grandma. She ain't been acting the same. She ain't been acting right for a few days, about like 3 days since my auntie's wedding. They had went to my auntie's wedding and everything and stuff like that. My grandmother had not been out. Now, I'm gonna tell you, my grandma was real big on this pandemic stuff because she had diabetes. Now, my grandma was one of them black grandmas. Don't bring nobody around me. I got diabetes. Y'all got all this COVID around there. I got diabetes. Don't come up around my house. I don't want to go there. Well, I don't want to go there. They had funerals and everything. She didn't go to the funeral. She made all the food and she sent it out. And she said, that's the best I can do. I do not want to be around people because I have diabetes. My little brother brought his newborn over there. She went off on him. Why you bring that baby out here? And it's COVID and all that. So she was like that during the pandemic. Don't talk to her. Don't touch her. She's going to go to work. She was with her mask. She was with the sanitizing. She's spraying everything down. She's spraying me down when I come in the house. I'm like, grandma, so she got sick. So I'm just knowing it's not COVID or nothing like that. She got sick, according to my sister. She said that her oxygen levels was off. So I was like, okay. So she go to the hospital. She said she not saying nothing to nobody. She's upset. We had been knocking on her door. This is the second time we went over there and she wasn't answering the door, but she was in there. The fire department had to break the door down, right? So the fire department is knocking on the door. They trying to beat on the door. I guess when they bust the door through, the door hit my grandmother because she was coming to the door. And then she sat down on her couch and everything. They did tests on her and they was like, why are you not answering? And why we been looking and you don't? And she said that she just didn't feel good and she didn't feel like talking to nobody. Now, that's my grandma being stubborn. She is a Scorpio, and y'all know how Scorpios are. And she's an old school Scorpio. She was 76 at the time. So she's sitting up there. She was just like, I didn't feel like opening the door. Why y'all want to keep knocking on my window, knocking on my door and all this kind of stuff? I don't feel like being bothered. And y'all gonna force me to open up my door. And my little sister said that she just was not looking good. And she told her, grandma, something is wrong. You need to go to the hospital if your oxygen level's low. When they called the ambulance, right? Because when they had to do a health and comfort and they had to break in her door, they still had the ambulance. The ambulance did her oxygen checks and they told her, we cannot leave you. You have to go to the hospital. If we leave you, then it's going to be on us because we're telling you that your oxygen levels are at 50%, right? So then I asked her, can I speak to my grandmother? She was in the hospital at the time. She said she not saying nothing to nobody. She not saying nothing to the doctors. She don't want to talk to nobody. She just silent. I said, put her on the phone. She ain't talked. I guess she hadn't talked in a while. She not saying nothing. She just looking at them upside their head. She looking crazy and everything. Now they saying they think something wrong with her because she seemed like she delirious, she delusional, her oxygen is 50%, blah, 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 blah. I said, give her the phone. They gave the phone to my grandmother, right? And remember, I'm telling y'all this because this is part of my therapy and stuff like that. They gave the phone to my grandmother. Now, they give the phone to my grandmother. And I said, Grandma? She said, mm-hmm. I could just hear everybody in the background gasping. I said, well, what's wrong with you, girl? Well, they say my oxygen low and they didn't came and took me to the hospital. I ain't want to go to no hospital. I could have just stayed in my house and everything. Now, y'all got to realize my grandma went to work every day, didn't need nobody, was very an independent woman. This not no old, frail woman. This is my grandma. This is my home girl. You know what I'm saying? Everybody looked to her for help and stuff. So she was like, but I'm here now. And they was just gagging in the back. She ain't been talking to nobody. She wouldn't even ask the doctor. She looking at them like they crazy and she upset. But when I got on the phone, all of a sudden she talking. I knew what it was. She was mad. My grandmother was stubborn, right? If she didn't want to go nowhere, she didn't want to go nowhere. So she gets on the phone and everything, and I'm asking her, well, what you feel? She said, I am really tired though. And she said, I ain't gonna lie. I was having some problems breathing at home and stuff like that. I said, did they check and see what it was? We had our little conversation and everything. She was fine to me. But if your oxygen level's low, I talked to the nurse. The nurse said that they put her on the oxygen, trying to help her with her oxygen, and it was improving, and it had got to 70, but they need to get her up to at least 90 and 100%. If not, then they're going to have to go to the mask, and then, worst case scenario, you have to go in the incubator and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, she should be fine. She at the hospital now. About 2 days roll out, I call her at night when I got off of work. I said, everything good, Grandma? How you feeling? And then she said, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't feel real good and somebody need to call the nurse and come give me something for my throat. I got a sore throat. Everything, I called the nurse. The nurse said she had COVID and pneumonia filling her lungs. Okay. Now it's getting serious. Now, y'all told y'all I was in a very, very stressful environment. I had already lost my grandmother in 2017 on my daddy's side. And I had always told myself, if I lose Pearlie Mae, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to snap. So now that she got her lungs is filled with pneumonia. Y'all telling me she got COVID. I already know she's a diabetic. Then they tell me that she's hooked up to this dialysis machine. And I'm like, dialysis? My grandmother ain't never needed. They was like, her blood is too thick. It's not going through the machine right. They need to, the blood is thick and everything, and it ain't going through the machine, and they trying to make sure that I'm like, what is y'all doing? Like, what do you mean blood through a machine? So now at this point, I don't care what the United States Navy have to say, but I need to get home because this don't look too good, right? So then we hung up the phone with the nurse and everything. I call another day. Now, this is like within a week, though. I call the nurse. The nurse was saying that it don't seem like it's getting better. Her oxygen levels kept going up and down, right? Anybody that been through this with COVID and everything and had a family member in the hospital, they probably heard these same things. It kept going up and down. They don't think that the oxygen that's helping her is helping, so they put her on the mask. Now they got her on the mask. Now I'm ready to come home. I'm not listening to nothing that's going on in the military. The military can really kiss my ass at this moment, right? So at this point, I called the nurse another day. No, I called my grandmother one night, and she said, I'm just tired. And she said, Cedric, if I go on that incubator, I'm not coming back. I said they wanted to put her on an incubator because it just was not helping. And she said, if I go on that incubator, I'm not coming back. So I said, well, are you scared, Grandma? And she said, oh, I'm not scared because if I die, I know where I'm going. She said, but I don't want to die. Then I said, well, if you don't want to die, you might have to go on the incubator. And then she was like, but if I go on that incubator, I'm not coming back. And I'm talking to her, I'm like, Grandma, you talk crazy. And then she just stopped me in the middle of my sentence and said, Mama came to see me. Anybody that's in the black community already know where this is going. If I ain't never met this lady's grandmother, I've never met my great grandmother. My great grandmother had been gone long before I was born. All my life, every time my grandma mother came back to her, anybody that's in the black community knows how our ancestors come back to us and everything. When my grandmother used to go through stuff and everything, her mother would come through to her. When my mama was going through things with drugs and all this kind of stuff, and my grandmother was having a nervous breakdown, her mother would come to her. When she got sick in her body and all this kind of stuff, her mother would come to her. You see what I'm saying? To help her get through. That's how black people and ancestors work, right? So when she said, Mama came to me today, I got quiet. And I said, what did she say? She said, well, she didn't say nothing. She was just real angry. Her spirit was real angry. Now, catch it, my grandmother had COVID, but her brother had uh, um, respiratory issues and everything. Then another brother was on his deathbed. My uncle, which was the oldest, had just died right before that. She already had one brother that was gone. Then her sister had COVID. My great grandma had 12 kids. So I felt like it was an attack on her bloodline. So maybe that's why she was angry. And I told my grandmother that, and she said, you know what? I didn't think about it that way. She said, maybe she is, because you know, Dolores is her baby, which is my auntie, the baby girl. And she said, well, I'm gonna go on and go to sleep. I already talked to Janice, which is my auntie, her oldest daughter. She said, and I'm just tired. She was like, I'm just so tired, Cedric, I'm tired. And I said, well, Grandma, get some sleep, and I'm gonna call you back tomorrow. I call back tomorrow, the nurse picks up the phone. I said, well, is she able to talk? She said, well, she's on the incubator. I said, who said to put her on the incubator? She said, she did. She said that, I said, well, what did she tell you? And she said, my grandmother said, now, I don't want to go on the incubator, but if that's what's going to keep me alive, go ahead and do it. At this point, I done got everything. Now the doctors want to talk to the family after about like 2 to 3 days on the incubator. I told my auntie, I said, FaceTime me, FaceTime me, FaceTime me, because I'm way 18 hours away in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm looking up tickets. Tickets are saying $700 one way out of Erie, Pennsylvania. At this point, I don't care what's going on in the military. Everything can kiss my ass, because now you want to talk to me about my grandmother that's on an incubator, and this is not, I was not ready for, we're not talking about this. So I get in that red BMW. I told my auntie to call me. That was at 9 o'clock, like 9 o'clock at night, right? It had to be around like 9, 8 or 9 o'clock at night or whatever. As soon as I hung up with my auntie, I got a few things, got my backpack, got my keys. I got in the car. I didn't say shit. I drove all the way to Dallas. I was at the hospital before everybody in Dallas was at the hospital. My aunties, they walked in there and they was like, what did you do? Did you fly here? Something like that. Went straight. 18 hours, came to Dallas at Baylor University Hospital. And I'm sitting there. I'm trying to figure out what the doctors is telling me. Well, you know, her body is really fighting. Her oxygen is not getting better. The blood is not going through the dialysis machine. Blah, 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 blah. They literally, and anybody that been through COVID can tell you this. We have flipped her on her chest. We have flipped her on her back. We have flipped her on her chest. We have flipped her on her back. She's not getting better, and she's an old woman. Who is you talking to, doctor? Because you saying old woman because you know her by her age. We know her by her actions and that she don't need nobody. And this lady goes every day, drive by herself, live by herself. You not. What is you saying to me? I said, is she alive? Yes. Well, you do all you can to make sure that she stay alive. Keep flipping. Keep doing whatever you got to do. Because what are you telling us? The doctor was literally sitting with us as a family telling us to pull the plug on my grandmother who was yet alive. Anybody that been through COVID can tell you this is the worst thing in the world to happen, to have these doctors. Let me tell you what these doctors was doing. These doctors didn't really know how to fight COVID. This is what was pissing me off. They really didn't know how to fight COVID. They were just trying different things. But if you telling me that she's on an incubator, she is alive, right? She is fighting. You said she's fighting. Well, she better fight till she can't fight no more because you don't know who you dealing with. You're dealing with a warrior. You're dealing with a saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost woman. Doctor, you're not going to tell me to pull the plug on somebody that's alive. And the last thing I got in my ear is, I'm not scared, but I don't want to die, right? Once the doctor said that, me and my auntie agreed, the family agreed. He's talking about, but if she goes into cardiac arrest, I might have to do CPR on her. Do CPR. It may break her ribs. Why are you telling me these possibilities and these maybes and all this? I'm telling you, it's like the doctors. I'm going to tell y'all what was happening during COVID. And I wasn't the only one. I compared notes and I compared stories with people that had people die during COVID. It was like the hospitals were so fucking full during COVID. If you were an elderly person and you was above 70, I don't think they were trying. I think it was so many people and they were so stressed out till people became numbers. To be honest with you, you had doctors working around the clock and they're trying not to get COVID themselves. The hospitals are so full, I think they were trying to take out the older people. And I'm telling y'all this, if you have anybody that been through COVID, really think about it. The doctors were not getting any fucking sleep. You are telling me now in a non-COVID environment, they're saying we're going to do everything we can to keep your grandmother alive, right? During COVID, you have a live person on an incubator that everything is working and you said they're fighting, but they're tired. What are you telling me to do right now? What are you asking me to do? She's a very elderly woman. What are you asking me, doctor? Because it sounds like you're telling me to pull the plug on a... How am I pulling the plug on somebody that's alive? You want to talk about hospice and stuff, and my grandmother said that she didn't want to die. My grandmother was 76, but she was a 76 that lived independently, that we were all had to go depend on her. This wasn't no old, y'all know 76-year-olds that's black. Shoes, have y'all seen Tina Turner? Tina Turner was 80-something years old when she died, but she was still rolling on the river at 70. She was still out there with Beyonce and stuff like that, still dancing. So some people are just different, but because she's sick, you're looking at her age. I'm telling y'all, the doctors did not care about it. If you had an elderly person die from COVID in the hospital, the doctors didn't know what to do, and it was too many people, and I know those doctors. I know they were just letting people slip away. So we said no. Then I knew I had to return home, so I stayed here in Dallas for a while, for about like 5 days, and my command was with me. And I have to give it to them. My command was with me. Late to the party, what was her diagnosis? Just COVID, and her lungs was full of pneumonia. So, and plus she had already had diabetes. So you see where this is going, and it was now her body trying to. That's why now she was fighting, body trying to fight too many different things at once because the COVID came now. The COVID and the pneumonia and everything made it hard. Now, all of a sudden, I was talking to the nurse, right? I was talking to the nurse offline after that. The nurse told me my grandmother wasn't like really responding. Like, they'll go do something to try to tickle their feet and stuff like that and everything. She said she wasn't doing nothing to respond. And they tried to wake her up and bring her up and take her off the incubator. But when she started coming off the incubator, all the things all her vital signs and everything was things going crazy machine. So they got to put her, get her back sleep, right? Every time they bring it up, her temperature rises. Everything started. And I said, Now remember, I told y'all 2017, my other grandmother, she had a stroke and everything. I lost her. I lost her on the incubator. So this is all starting to sound familiar now, right? So I said, I got to get back to Erie. That's an 18-hour drive because I'm about to get out the Navy now because I don't care. I got to come home. I don't give a damn if I have to wait on my grandmother every fucking day till I die. That is my home girl. That is my thought process. That is my mental compass. That is everything that keeps me from popping off on motherfuckers. That is everything that keeps me from snapping on motherfuckers. Is this lady right here. So the military did not even, I didn't care no more, right? So I'm going home. I asked, the military, can I get out of my contract? They said if your command allows you already did 20 years, you on 21. You can go home. You did your time. You're gonna get paid for the rest of your life. Boom. I went to my captain and I showed it to him and I told him, boo, sir, not boo, but sir, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. What's going on, Chief? Chief, you're doing so well. You're excelling out there now. We've been through all these you're going through the racism. You're doing all this stuff. Your people are. Listen, my grandma sick, all that blah, boom, boom, boom. I don't give a fuck. We're not doing that. Sir, this right here is not, you don't want to keep me in no racist town, through no stressful environment. And my grandmother, I don't care. I will shoot everybody in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm not doing none of that. I don't have time for patience. I don't have time. Let me out of my contract. Okay. Master Chief talked to me. He said, you know what? If you're going to do it now. We're going to let you out your contract. You have gave what you needed to give to the United States Navy. You went above and beyond 21 years. All we asked you to do is 4 years. You did 21. Go home and be paid for the rest of your life. So before I left, I told my auntie to do a neurology check. I said, ask the neurologist to come in and do a neurology check on grandma while I go handle this, because I got to get out the military. I got to start my paperwork. I got to go from Erie to Virginia. I'm doing a little bit of things in Fort Worth because I keep trying to drive back and forth. Why I get a phone call after I talked. Now I went to my captain. When I went to my captain the first time, we came down here, we did all this stuff. Now, when I told her to do the neurology check, I drove back up. I was on the phone with my commanding officer and my master chief. I drove back up. Why, when I pulled in my driveway, I got a phone call from my auntie, and I just knew it. I knew it. My auntie said, Cedric, the neurologist did a test on mama, and I said her brain waves is not working. And she said, how you know? Went through this already with my other grandmother. And she said, yeah, and they talking about that, I don't know. And I said, Aunt Janice, this means she gone. My auntie got quiet. I got quiet. There is no history that I've researched and everything, because I did it with my other grandmother to try to figure it out, because you telling me to pull a plug. I don't know about this. I don't know about, one of the hardest decisions to make is to pull the plug. You do not want to be the person to make the decision to pull the plug. You don't want to be the person to make the decision to pull the plug. And that was the second time that I had to make that decision. Because when you were brain dead, when you're brain dead, that's it. That's it. That means you gone. So I spent the night in Erie, Pennsylvania. I got some sleep and I drove right back down. I told my captain and my master chief that my grandmother had left us. I keep telling everybody, no, a lot of people don't take me serious. That was my mental compass. That was my, a lot of people in my family have their kids, they have their spouses, they have whatever going on with them. My two grandmothers were my homegirls. When I lost one, I knew. Anything I'm going through, y'all got y'all friends and stuff like that. That person you call up that can control you, that can steer you in the right path and everything. My grandmother was the person that kept me from clicking. My grandma was the person that kept me from doing some bad things in my life. So I drove back down. I drove down another 18 hours back to Dallas, because now we got to get funeral arrangements, right? Good thing my grandmother had already picked out her funeral arrangements. To everybody that don't have insurance in the Black community, I don't care if it's a $10,000 policy. I'm telling y'all this. I'm pleading with you, black people. If you do not have insurance, something as simple as $10,000 really not nothing, to be honest with you, to go through this, because I had already went through it with my other granny, but she had insurance, but that still didn't cover some things. You know what I'm saying? You have to be paid to put in the ground. You have to be paid to put the cement in the ground, to put in your tomb, because now they put tombs in the ground to keep it from, like, the dirt from sinking in, and like it was a warthog situation in the graveyards and stuff like that. But grave diggers and all this kind of stuff, they cement you in a tomb now. So you got to pay for the tomb. You got to pay for the digging of the grave. You got to pay for them to put the dirt back in the grave, right? That's not including all the funeral costs, the casket, the cutting of the hair, the cleaning of them, the embalming, the all this kind of stuff, and everything had to go through all this stuff again, right? Getting the cars, the funeral services, the pastor, the church. Now we still in the pandemic because this is 2021, right? We make the funeral arrangements. We get everything done. Got help from family. She had already had a pre-need. If y'all do a pre-need burial, do a pre-need burial, y'all. That, when I tell you that helped us out so much as a family, that my grandmother had already went to Golden Gate Funeral Home and did a pre-need. These funeral homes have packages that if you get it now, her package that she had was like $5,000 when she got it many years ago, but it was worth damn near $15,000 today. You see what I'm saying? So whatever, y'all get a pre-need. Black people, get a pre-need. We had the funeral. You know what I'm saying? She was beautiful and everything, white. Her favorite color was blue. I had on my white uniform that she loved with the buttons and all this going down and everything, looking like the distinguished gentleman. After the funeral was over, I knew I had to get back because I had to finish getting out the military, because I don't know what I'm going to do now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know I don't know nothing. I'm just like, my mama is out there, she's still going through her mental issues and her problems and stuff out there in the streets and everything. Being paranoid, schizophrenic with psychotic features and borderline because of the drug dealing game she done been in and living on the streets and all that stuff. So my brothers and sisters, that was our glue. When my mama couldn't take care of us, my grandmother took us. She didn't let us be split up. She didn't sit us in foster care or nothing like that. She gave up her life for us, right? So now we're kind of like everybody taking this hard. This lady was the matriarch. She was the go-to to the day that she left here. This is the one that you went to that got you through everything. You know what I'm saying? So we going through that. I went home. After I buried her, I went home that Monday. We buried her on a Saturday, August 14th. I went home. Once I went home, I went all the way home back to Erie because I got to finish this process. That whole week I had been from Erie to Virginia, from Virginia to Erie, from Erie to Virginia. Because y'all got to realize, while I'm preparing funeral arrangements, I'm also going to appointments and everything in Fort Worth trying to finish out I'm retiring. I'm getting out now because I've been to kill somebody, right? That Thursday, my little brother had called me from prison, and he was like, yo, grandma wouldn't want you to be sad. I'm calling and I'm just checking on you, Cedric, and all this kind of stuff and everything. And I'm like, how you checking on me and you the one in prison and stuff, and they didn't want to let you out and stuff because of COVID. They didn't want to let them go in and out, right? So he in prison and everything. He was like, remember I told y'all at the beginning of this video, he had been doing this thing called projecting his spirit and, putting his spirit where, where he can be with his loved ones and stuff like that. And he said, but I'm going to tell you, man, now this is a Thursday. This is the Thursday after she passed. He said, I don't feel her, bro. I don't feel her. He was like, man, I just wanted to get out and I just wanted to make a way to show her that, everything she did wasn't wrong. And he was like, but I don't feel her, dude. I don't feel her. And I said, I understand. I was like, but grandma done did what she need to do, everything. He was like, he just kept saying something like, I don't feel her no more. I don't feel her. I can't feel her. He said, I can feel you. I can feel my brother and sister, but I don't feel her. He been practicing this thing in prison about, projecting his spirit, right? So I didn't, I just know King James version, even though it's the whitewashed and all that stuff. That's all I know, right? So I don't know about projecting spirits and stuff, right? So I was on the phone with him and he was like, but I just really wanted to check on you, how you doing and stuff like that, right? I said, I'm cool. So we went through, we was talking and stuff. He hung up the phone. I love you. I love you, brother. Saturday comes. I wake up in the morning. That Saturday, I had to do a ball. This is why I'm so tied to Pittsburgh, because through all of this, it was Pittsburgh ballroom. No matter what the fuck y'all got to say about Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh will forever be something in my heart, because that was the only black people that I really fucked with. I had to drive down to Pittsburgh from Erie. I had a ball that Saturday. Now, that Saturday morning, I think around the morning, like the afternoon, like 11 or 12, I seen my phone ringing, and it was my brother's girlfriend. And I said, oh my God, what is he talking about right now? And I was going to answer the phone, but then I said, no. I said, because I had a lot of stuff to do to get down to Pittsburgh, because I was like, I had been stressed out. I didn't want to think about nothing. And, so I was like, let me go on and go down to Pittsburgh right now so I can go down there with my friends and just kind of like not think about it, take my mind off of it, right? Later on that night, it was 10 o'clock. Never forget it. I was in Pittsburgh. Sheiks, Divine Gotti was walking streetwear. And he came up and I was looking at his shoes. I was looking at what he had on. I'm in my ballroom mode, Jrocks Ebony, right? He's, coming in and everything. And it was around by like 10 something. It was hot in the club. I remember it was hot. Pills on the ones and twos. I'm out there. We're having a little ball, right? All of a sudden, this cold, freezing wind came over me, and it was like in my joints. It was in my bones. Like, it was so, I cannot even explain it. It was in my bones. I stopped and I shook, and Sheiks was walking, and he looked at me like, then I was like, who turned the air conditioner on in here? Then it got back hot. So I'm thinking, I don't know what this is, but by this being COVID and everything, and we was in that season, I didn't have no mask on. I was one of them people, right? So I was like, oh, let me get this ball over with. We got through the ball. We finished the ball and everything. I went out in the car. They wanted to go to the after set. There was some type of after set in Pittsburgh. So we going to the after set and everything, and I told them, y'all, I'm going to just sit in the car because I'm kind of scared now because that cold chill had came over me, and it was all in my bones and everything, right? And I laid back, and I had took me some vitamin C's and stuff because I was thinking that maybe, I don't want to get sick, but that was weird. I've never felt that kind of, it made me shiver, and it was all in my bones. But I was fine now. I laid back in my car. I turned the air conditioner on. Now it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, right? My phone rang. And when my phone rung, I looked down, and it said it was a Texas number. And I'm like, who will be calling me at 3 something in the morning? And his name came to me. So I answered. And I was like, hello? And it was like, can I speak to Cedric Johnson? Now, bill collectors don't call you in the middle of the night. I said, this is Cedric Johnson. Then he said, yes, this is Kevin, whatever that man's name was. This is Kevin something with the Robertson unit. I said, stop. Please, just stop. Stop. Hold on. Just hold on. Because, sir, let me explain something to you right now. Just a week ago, I buried my grandmother. I am not in the mental state right now for you to tell me that something has happened to my brother. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, and I know that please don't tell me that something has happened to my brother. And he said, was your grandmother named, you know, Pearlie Brook? And I said, yes. He said, that's why we couldn't contact her. He said, you were the second person on the list. There's only two people on his list to contact, his grandmother and then you. But yes, I said, I said, he hung himself. He said, well, I don't know what happened to him. He said, I'm just the one that's supposed to call you to tell you to get in touch with the warden. That's their protocol. Call the warden. He passed at 10, around 10:30, his cellmate went to the cell after he had been to work, whatever that means. If y'all know about prison, y'all know what that means. He had been to work, came back to his cell, and he found your brother, but I don't know how. So, I just know he passed on, and I had to give you that. No, that's what the warden told me. He just told me to pass, right? So I called the warden, and then I told the warden the same thing I told him. I called him, and I asked the warden, I said, how you doing? This is Cedric Johnson. I'm calling about Jacob, I'm calling about Jacob Wheeler and my brother, and I'm on his list. The person just called me and told me that he passed. And he said, yes, I'm here to tell you, blah, blah. And I said, sir, how did he hang himself? Because I didn't think that the jails was built like that. He said, who told you he hung himself? Nobody's supposed to have that information, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. I said, sir, calm down. Nobody told me this. He told me this. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, it's hard to explain, but my brother told me he hung himself. Y'all don't have to believe me. I don't care what you believe, what your religion is, or whatever. I told you this boy had been practicing spirit projection and all this kind of stuff. Now, I didn't even believe in the stuff and all that kind of stuff, and I don't want to get into it. But one thing that I told my little brother that Thursday was, be careful about all this stuff that you practicing. You practicing projecting your spirit or whatever these books you reading, but you are leaving an empty vessel for anything to come in. Whether it's spirits or whatever, I don't know. But I just find that you're leaving your body open as an open vessel when you're just projecting and you're meditating like that. Once everything was over with, and I knew that my brother had hung himself 1 week after burying my grandmother, I called his girlfriend. I'm trying to call her and everything, right? She finally picks up the phone in the middle of the night. And she just started crying. She was like, why are you calling me this late? Why are you calling me this late? Please don't tell. And I said, well, what do you know? She said, I was trying to call you because your brother was talking crazy. He was saying he going to go see his grandmother. He may not make it back, but he's going to project himself because he got to find her. He don't feel her. He got to talk to his grandmother. So he going to go into the spiritual realm. And I said, you talking crazy. And I was feeling guilty because she said I was calling you three-way to talk some sense into him, right? Because he only listened to you. And I didn't pick up the phone. So I said, yeah, he died. And she was like, oh my, she panicking and everything and stuff. So basically, that's what happened, y'all. COVID took my grandmother away from me, in essence, which took my brother away from me. In a matter of 2 weeks, I had a funeral, a burial, a phone call. Now his body got to get transferred down to Houston, Texas, Corin's funeral home. We got to claim the body, or either they're just going to throw him out there with the rest of the inmates that don't have nobody. I had 1 week to claim him. He had no insurance. No insurance. Just went back and forward doing stuff for my grandmother. Good thing she had what she had. Who y'all think had to come up off of that? Baby, I did a GoFundMe. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about the hood. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about the Crips and the gangsters. But it was the hood. It was the Crips. And it was the gangsters that showed up at that balloon release. And when I got on that megaphone and I said, yeah, y'all saying that y'all down for my brother didn't have no fucking insurance. This girl got a tissue box. She took all the tissue out that box. Everybody in that community in blue, from the kids, from everybody, was walking up to that tissue box, dropping 20s, dropping hundreds, dropping money for him to help me with his burial. The hood, the gangsters, the Crips, all of them made sure that I can pay for my little brother to be shipped from Robertson unit down to Carnes, back up to Dallas, and everything. It was the hood, it was the gangsters, it was the Crips that everybody got a problem with. The people that you would look at and call thugs and all this kind of stuff, it was them that showed up for me and my family and for the person they call brother and call Crip on Crip. I will forever thank them for that, because I didn't know if I was going to have to leave him down there, and I didn't want him to just be thrown in a state graveyard because he had no family, right? Did all that, had the funeral. After 2 weeks, I had the funeral, came back, got out the Navy. From October 31st, 2021 was my last day in the Navy, till April of 2022. I lived out of my car. I had somewhere to go. I could have went anywhere. I have a sister with a whole house. I had a sister with apartments. I have an auntie with a huge house. I have cousins with big houses on both sides of my family. But I was riding around Dallas out of my fucking mind. It was like an out-of-body experience. And so if you're going through COVID, know that if you're going through COVID deaths and that quick loss of somebody and you don't know what to do, I'm telling you, I understand. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was going to do. I already have PTSD from being in the military, and we will get to those stories on another one of how I first got PTSD. But now I had to deal with another type of PTSD. You did 21 years in the military and you didn't plan you're just out. You don't know no other life. You had your grandmother guiding you. She's gone. You just went through that. Now you lost that. You ain't grieved. You out the military. You waking up every day feeling like you ain't doing something that you about to get it. You waking up looking for your sailors every day. You waking up in your car every day wondering, what the fuck are you doing? I couldn't go nowhere because I was scared of me. I was scared of me. I was scared to wake up next to my nephews or my sister or somebody in my family and lose it. Every time a female in my family, every time I seen them from October 31st all the way to around like the beginning of April of 2022, every woman in my family that I looked at sounded like my grandmother, looked like my grandmother, said the same words as my grandmother, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it, right? So I had to live away from my family, and I was in a car. I was in a red BMW, boo, doing Uber Eats, going to Planet Fitness, taking a shower, going by Zapara's house, dropping off my clothes. Zapara's looking at me like I'm stupid because she like, where is you staying? But she knew I wasn't dirty. I was going out on Wednesday nights to the ballroom, kept me going. Felt like I saw her everywhere. It was like everywhere I went, right? Ballroom. Through the pandemic, the little virtual balls and all that stuff, being alone and all this kind of stuff, them virtual balls coming together, you know what I'm saying, talking about how we are and stuff like that, all that stuff, that helped me be go live, kept me alive, all that stuff, right? But it was also ballroom that helped me take my mind on Wednesday nights. This is why I'm ever in debt to Marty's. Every Wednesday night, they were still doing balls. So I'm going there doing balls, but everybody see me get in my red car not knowing that I'm about to go to the Love Field parking lot. Because I used to be a Lyft driver too. Go to the Love Field parking lot in the motherfucking shared ride, pull my seat back, turn my air conditioner on, and go to sleep because I was living out of my car because I was scared to sleep at anybody's house. I was scared to wake up in the hotel. If I just wake up and I'm already in the car, I can go to Planet Fitness. I can get a little workout in. I can take a shower. I can get myself together. If I need some more clothes, I can go switch them out, wash them, take them by Paris house because Paris had a whole washer and fucking dryer and all my stuff was in her closet, right? Nobody knowing that I'm living out of my car because I'm scared of myself. I'm scared of me, and I don't know if I'm fist to snap because I done just lost my grandmother, and then after a week after I put her in the ground, my brother hung himself, and he left a letter. Now, I didn't tell y'all this part. I got a phone call that Monday after he hung himself from a random phone number and said, "Can I speak to Cedric?" I said, "It's Cedric." She said, "You don't know me." She said, your brother's cellmate is my husband. And he told me to call you and give you these words, right? Exactly. No, I was sleeping in that BMW. This was before like the budget suites and stuff. When y'all started seeing me at the budget suites. Um, she said, "Your brother left this letter." And the letter had read, "I'm sorry, brother. I may not make it back, but I gotta go see my grandmother and I'm going to go into the spiritual realm. If I don't come back, I love you. And I'm sorry for everything that I ever done." That's another story that I have from my open book of why he was so sorry. It wasn't he was sorry that he was supposed to do this. It was something else that he thought I had still in me and I didn't. Because that's why I answered the phone for him and put money on his books all the time. But to have 8 brothers and sisters and a whole family, you left a letter for one person. That was ringing in my head. Are y'all not understanding? I'm not gonna say y'all not, but anybody that been through COVID and been through pandemic, my grandmother is gone. I can't think. My brother is gone. He left me this letter. He in a spiritual realm. He's dealing with me every day. I could feel his presence. I'm like scared of me. Now I'm a civilian. I've been in the military 21 years. I don't know what to do. I'm scared of myself. People yelling at me. Anybody can tell you when I first came back home, I yell on the microphone anyway. But when I first came back home, I was yelling to the point to, "Bitch, I will motherfucking knock you. Get the fuck out of my face," type yelling. And I didn't catch it until Baldwin kept saying, "You're doing too much, J-Rock. What's wrong? You're doing too much." Shout out to Uncle Mike. Shout out to Uncle Mike Ebony, and Tim Ebony that passed away. Them two was on me like white on rice when they was like, "How you doing? What's going on with you? How you doing?" Tim named a star after my grandmother. Tim bought a star and named it after my grandmother because he knew just how much it was hurting me that she was gone. I was sleeping in love filled rideshare parking lot, waking up, going to Planet Fitness, cleaning up everything. And then finally, Jelinski texted me and said, "I need somebody that might be interested in these positions." And that's how I started working for the place I was volunteering at, UBE. And I had got me a budget suites and I was back around normal people. I was able to, feed myself. I was able to do stuff because, my military, my retirement had kicked in and everything. So UBE, going to work every day, going to school. I had enrolled in school. It kind of kept my mind occupied, right? And that is the end of my pandemic story. Y'all got to go to part 1 to see how I start off. And y'all got to look at part 2 to see what the pandemic did to me. How it shaped my life is I went through a tragic, traumatic experience. And I don't like to talk about it, but I'm telling y'all because I know it's a lot of people that probably went through that. And it's just how it shaped my life is every day I have to wake up. I can't even go to Pleasant Grove because every time I see an action movie, every time I hear a gospel song, I just can't pick up the phone and call her. I just kept hearing all these thousands of people losing their life, all these thousands of people and millions of people dying, and it wasn't into my family. But it's like you, I was questioning myself, questioning God and everything, because I'm saying to myself, out of all people, why would you take her? Somebody that bends over backwards for the community, somebody that will go to the grocery store and buy a whole thing of groceries and put them in a needy family's house with her hard-earned money, that taught me how to go out there and be a good person in the community. And y'all think I'm the way that I am, but that lady raised me to do that. She would take the clothes off her back. She would tell us, them is new shoes. Y'all don't need them shoes. Go give them to Brad. Go give them to them people. Go give them to Nat. Let's go do this. I like, the pandemic fucked me up mentally. The pandemic fucked me up spiritually. The pandemic gave me a PTSD that is hard to deal with, because now it took people from me at double time, going through all these things and stuff, but you still gotta show up for the community. You still gotta show up for others. That's why I started going to therapy. If y'all aren't going to therapy, I'm telling you, therapy helps. Somebody that's just a professional, that don't know you from a can of paint, that just can sit down, give you professional advice, give you a chance to vent. It helps. But the pandemic really fucked me up. The pandemic had me seeing things, hearing things. Like I said, shout out to Ballroom. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about Ballroom. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about these people in Ballroom. But it was the Uncle Mikes and the Tims. It was the bearded lady. Y'all, like, it's people that y'all don't even realize. People like the bearded lady. Y'all would never know that the bearded lady is somebody that used to come into my inbox just to check on me. When people die, y'all be seeing these people going through stuff mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on Facebook and stuff. And y'all see, this is what really pissed me off. Like, when somebody die, and then people start putting their stuff on there, y'all want to start saying they fake and all this kind of stuff. There are relationships out there that people just never talk about. They just never talk about it. It's just a connection. Yes, the bearded lady was an ebony before, but it's not like we didn't have that type of relationship where we just talked all the time. But for her to come into my inbox constantly, still to this day, still just check up on me, that is appreciated. Y'all don't know how much that gets somebody to the next spot. Now, if I would have done something to myself, if I would have done something to myself and the bearded lady went and put up how much she missed me and all this kind of stuff and everything, y'all would call her fake, because y'all don't know the connection. That's why I never say that to when people put stuff on Facebook. Y'all want to start saying they being fake and all this kind of stuff. In a social media environment, you don't know who relationship is who, to be honest with you. Is it some fake people out there? Yeah, it is. But y'all don't understand how much Ballroom helped me get through these mental states of my life. Y'all don't know how hard it is to see my sister come around me, and when she starts talking, she sounds like my grandmother. Or I call my other sister and she starts talking and she sounds like my grandmother. Every time I talk to my auntie, she sounds like my grandmother. Every woman in my family sounds like my grandmother. But guess who I cannot talk to? My grandmother. Neither one of them. So that's what the pandemic is. So that's the end of this one. Part one, and this is part two. Part one is like 30 minutes. This is like an hour or so. If you're interested, y'all can like, share, subscribe. This is what I'm doing for my therapy session, whether it takes off or whatever, where anybody, I just want to share with y'all because it helps me to share with y'all. And this is a part of my therapy. And it was a class assignment, you know, COVID and the pandemic and how it affects you and shaped your life. Y'all got to talk about it. Y'all got to talk about it with people that have been through. Y'all got to talk about it with people that have lost people during the pandemic. Y'all have to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, your grieving process will be a hard one. And you don't want to hold all that stuff in, because a simple thing can make you click out on somebody. And everybody's wondering why you clicking is because you really been through a traumatic experience. And now I have to deal with different PTSDs. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's the end of this. The next time that I come, I will tell you about the PTSD that is tied with actual having a gun put to my head, cocked and loaded, and when the trigger got pulled, the bullet did not come out. We're going to talk about that one too.